what's your first memories of football? When did you get into it? What were you doing? How old were you? Go on, give us a little insight.
For me, it was sort of year 2, year 3, where I remember playing football sort of at school and on the playground and stuff. I always, from what I get told, I always had a ball with me from sort of, I think one of my aunties gave me a football sort of a day old, and that was with me the whole time. But I remember playing in this sort of the garden with my brothers. My brother's a little bit older than me, the two of them. So there was a lot more going on other than football. So when we used to go sort of camping holidays and stuff, that we'd play tennis and rounders, cricket, a bit of football, all the sort of summer activities which you do. But yeah, year 2, year 3, I remember playing in goal and playing outfield, and I just remember saying to my dad, I want to play for a football team, and he said, what position? And I said, in goal. And he just turned around. I was in the back of the car, he was in the front, and he said, are you mad? And I obviously said, yeah, but I don't have like a specific person I looked to or saw, or I liked the colour or anything like that. It was just one day I was just like, I want to play in goal, and that's how it started, really.
So you joined the club then?
Yeah, so the local club, which all of my friends to this day played for and still play for, basically turned us away. They had a goalkeeper, and their manager said, because his son went to my primary school, he said, no, we'll have him in midfield. And I basically said, I want to play in goal. So we went somewhere else. We went to a place called Hartfield Juniors. My dad's friend, his son is a year older than me, and he got a trial at Port Vale, and then Port Vale signed him as a goalkeeper. So I went and signed for the year above me at Hartfield Juniors and loved it. And I was there, I think we did the sort of the year with them, and then we broke off into a new team called Marsh Town. And then I did, I think 3.5 years with them before picking up at Bolton.
So go on. So you've done about 3 or 4 years in local football. All of that in goal?
Apart from probably 4 or 5 games. So when I first joined Hartfield Juniors, so the first club, I played, I think, 3 or 4 games where I did sort of the morning, I did the older age in goal to my own age in the afternoon and played outfield. But it got to the point where I was just like, I love playing outfield. It's good fun, and it you get to chance to score goals and stuff. But it got to the point where I was just like, I prefer to dive around, and I prefer to. At that time, it was just quite enjoyable when you get as muddy as you can, and you can hear your mum or dad like fuming in the kitchen, like trying to get it all clean for the next week. So I was a little bit like that as a kid, where I'd try and wind them up as much as possible.
So what was it you what did training look like back then? What type of stuff do you remember doing as a young goalkeeper, aged I'm thinking 8, 9 and 10?
Yeah, so for the first year, it was just sort of normal Sunday league, like a Thursday or Wednesday night sort of thing down on the Astro. Basically just join in with the outfielders, do passing drill, and it's just small-sided games really. And when we went to Marsh Town, the manager, Keith Griffiths, he plays a big part in my early career with goalkeeping. Cause he passed Fred Barber's goalkeeping school, which is basically for Sunday league keepers or even pros and young pros and whatever. On a Wednesday and Thursday night, he puts on sessions and you go down. It's just purely for goalkeeping. Some days you'd have 5 goalkeepers, some days you'd have 30. And the first time was a Friday night, and I think I'd have been 9 or 10. And I went and did the younger age group first for an hour and a half. So it is like an hour and a half for sort of the babies almost till about 11. So I did an hour and a half on a Friday night, and he straight away just said, "Do you want to stay for the older age?" And I was just like, I was buzzing. So I was like, "Yeah, can I?" And then I stayed and did another hour and a half with people who were 40, 28, all sorts of ages, and just got properly stuck in. And I did that for probably 6 months, twice a week. And it was Christmas time as a under 11 that I went on trial to Bolton, signed for them after a couple of weeks, and then still carried on doing the goalkeeping school in Stoke whilst doing 3 days a week at Bolton.
Nice. So there'll be people listening to this thinking, wow, that sounds a little bit like what I do, you know, play for a team, do a goalkeeping school. What type of stuff do you think you were doing that caught the eye of Bolton? Like, what made you stand out? What made you different from the rest that made Bolton, you know, bring you in and have a closer look?
The obvious answer is obviously Fred was the first team goalie coach at Bolton at the time.
Yeah.
He was also, I believe, Northern Ireland's goalie coach at that time. So when there was international breaks, we'd have Neil Edwards, who was sort of the under 23s at Bolton, 18s. And then we'd have Sam Meek, who's now with the FA, who might not enjoy me saying this, but he was the academy goalie, who eventually let me go. But when Fred was obviously away with Northern Ireland, them two would come and take the sessions, and being in front of them helped a lot. So that's probably the obvious answer, but I just must have had something which they saw, which obviously at that age, the age of 9 and 10, you're still sort of learning how to dive properly, how to land properly, sort of catching positions and things like that. So I must have had some sort of tell in that situations. And I think the other reason was obviously sort of the hard work. Fred would always make me do the demonstrations and then do my own set as well. And it was never a chore. It was never moaning. It was just, yeah, go on then, I'll do it.
Yeah. So does that go back to some of that stuff, or does that link to some of that stuff that you mentioned around enjoying your games that you playing with a smile on your face, working hard, being under pressure? Do you see a link between them two things, from Fred Barber asking you to do sets, work hard, do work, you know, under pressure, demonstrating, versus walking out in front of 60,000 people? Do you make a link there?
Yeah, without a doubt, because even when I was getting asked to do these demonstrations out of 10, 11, and there might be a young pro from Stoke, Port Vale, semi-pro at Newcastle Town and stuff like this, who potentially have played a few games in the Football League, which you know about, and then you've also got a lot older people who are playing. And I think me as an 11-year-old, I wanted to show everyone what I could do. But like you say, the pressure of what Fred used to put you under was his training work is hard. It's fitness based. And it could get to the end of the set where if you drop a volley, you have to obviously go back to the start, or back to a sort of a checkpoint. So going through that, and he'd always throw a volley in, or a half volley, which when you're absolutely knackered and you're sort of struggling to stand up, he'd always throw a volley in here, or a slow volley, and you'd end up dropping it. Yeah. But yeah, that was just my pure enjoyment. It was like, let's go again. I'll do it. And that's probably it. That's how it went at Fred's school. Yeah.
Yeah, class. And just a point for the guys listening in, and probably for yourself as well. I know you're interested in stuff like this. The bit you mentioned about Sam Meek, who might have been involved in releasing you from Bolton. I think what you've said there is right. But as a coach, and when you start coaching, sometimes you have to look a bit deeper than exactly what you see in front of your eyes in terms of, can someone catch it? Can they kick it? Can they do everything tidy? And, we've all been through stages where we're the opposite to that. We've grown, we're untidy, we're not consistent and stuff. But actually, as a coach, how you look at some of them, some people might call them like softer skills, like your psychosocial stuff around like your determination and your nerve strength and your desire to win and stuff. So I think that's probably a good lesson, Rammers, for coaches to like look a bit deeper than just what the guys are doing or what the girls are doing with their actual techniques.
I think, yeah, definitely, because as well at the time, it was me and Will Jaskalainen who plays for Crewe. Obviously, it's Juicy's son. And we're still best mates now, but we were exactly the same. He was just left-footed, I was right-footed. Both tiny, both couldn't kick.
I remember.
And I've got a picture on my Instagram of under 13s or 14s, and we're the two smallest ones. And everyone else is bigger. And so obviously Sam, Neil, people like them definitely saw what was going to be. And like you say, we were always getting sort of things thrown at us, not big enough, getting bullied on crosses, corners and all this. And both of us just always stood up to him. It's just like, let's go.
Real. And when did you feel, I'm putting myself in the shoes or gloves of some people listening. When did you start to sense things were getting a bit more serious, or you felt a bit more pressure at any of this, like academy level, or did that not come into it at all?
There was the Night Cup, it used to be called, the Premier League Cup sort of thing. So we'd have been under 14s, I think. The under 15s goalkeeper was too old. So I think it was 97s, 98s, but he was a 96 or something like this. So they brought in a goalkeeper who was supposed to be a year older to come and play and sign for Bolton. Ended up being mine and Will's age, and that's Jack Walton, who's at Barnsley.
Yeah.
So he came in, and at that time Jack was 6'1". So he had the stature, he could kick it, makes good saves, and that was the point then where that's when the sort of the pressure of sort of the academy and the football and potential failure and stuff like that came into it. Because all of a sudden you've gone from me and Will flying it out, and we're looking at each other, and you're kind of similar in the mirror, to Jack coming in, who's a lot taller, more developed. So then we had to fight against him. It was almost like a 2v1 at that time to try and prove that just because we're smaller, we had tidier hands or we were faster. And then he was trying to bring that part of his game up, and we were trying to, which he could control, but then we were trying to bring our uncontrollables quicker, which you're fighting a losing battle because we can't tell each other to grow, sort of thing. So that was the major pressure. The first time I felt pressure, because all the other time it was just me and Will, and we just love keeping.
It sounded like how you described that, sounded like you dealt with it really well. You just spoke about controlling the controllables, trying to like use your super strength while at the same time trying to get better at everything else. So sounds like you dealt with it quite well. Would that be fair? Is that on the pitch, off the pitch?
I felt like as a 14-year-old, I dealt with it quite well. But probably looking back, it wasn't the greatest. So I've gone from playing and me and Will sharing games to sort of not playing and then playing for the younger age group. Never really showed it in training or anything like that, but probably back home sort of felt like you're being not let down, but you just feel sort of not betrayed either, but them sort of feelings. You've been put as this sort of main guy or main guys to be kind of a nobody, And to be honest, it was hard for Jack coming in because me and Will were so tight. So we probably were a little bit like 14-year-olds are, like a little sort of stick together and try kind of leave him out and things and stuff. But then we soon realised he was a top he was a top guy and a good goalie. So we all sort of started getting on, and at one point we all went different ways and kind of started playing against each other for Sheffield United, Barnsley and Crewe in the youth teams.
Yeah, bro. So if you could give someone a piece of advice around the kind of the 12, 13, 14, 15 type of age, they're struggling, they feel that kind of, whether it's pressure or they feel that they're a bit down at that age, what would you advise them to do, knowing what you know now?
That would definitely be control the controllables. You can't physically make the coach pick you, but you can make the coach want to pick you. So, like we say, if your strengths are handling and tidiness and speed, well, carry on working with them. But if the other goalkeeper who's getting picked at the moment is better with his feet, spend a little bit more time doing your footwork and your kicking drills, but don't neglect anything else, because like we say now, the best keepers in the world, super strengths are always nailed on, and the ones which you think have a chink in the armoury of, oh, the distribution's not that great, then 6 months down the line you see someone in the clipping diags playing it along the floor, playing it in behind, and next thing you're looking at a goalkeeper who's got everything. So at that age it's tough, but because you kind of feel like you just want to be loved, and you just want to sort of tell everyone to pick me and stuff like that, but you can't, because it's not in your control.
Yeah, brilliant advice.